Hello and welcome back to Travel Market Life. You're joining me, your host, Ryan Haynes, and I'm going to be joined by our regular panelists, James Clark, Claire Steiner, and Will Plummer, as well as our special guest this week, Katie McClure from Jack's Flight Club, the editor of The Detour, the weekly newsletter, who knows where to get the best deals. Today, we're going to be covering getting the best deals, destination trends, benefiting from the sales, and managing your business travel budget.
Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
So guys, news is just out. The best holiday deal websites from Which Magazine 2025. And, well, there's a familiar name on there, isn't there, eh, James? How did you manage to get listed?
I can promise you there was no backhanders. It's all legitimate. Just Which recently surveyed a large amount of their members, took all the survey results, compiled them, and Travelzoo came in the top 4. So we're really pleased, really pleased with that. But
at number 4, might I say, not just the top 4. You were at number 4.
Yes, but I like to say that in the top 4. Yes, okay, 4th.
Good. Okay, and you must be very pleased about that.
We are really pleased with that because, but at the end of the day, that's our bread and butter. You know, we're a travel deals website. We like to tell everybody about the very best deals in the UK. And ultimately, our club is the club for travel enthusiasts. So they go hand in hand.
There you are. Big sales plug there. Thank you very much. So let's move over to your hacks, though, to start off with. Give us a couple that you would recommend and what you use, I guess, for your holidays, your travels and everything else.
Okay, so I've got a couple. I think the first one, which we use here for everybody, which is all around the flexibility of the dates and durations that you can travel for. So if you've got a particular destination in mind, if you can show some flexibility on the duration, that always helps, and you can check around the different durations. So if you ideally want to travel for 7, sometimes there's cheaper 8-night deals than 7 nights. Sometimes going 6 nights is better value than going 5 nights, for instance. And also the destination. If you're looking for maybe the Canaries as a whole, look around. Maybe the Balearics is a better destination and prove in value for you. But ultimately, I think one of my best travel hacks is about the departure airport. So many people overlook the departure airport. So I'll give you a prime example because I looked for one today. So I was on TUI's website, looking at their last minute deals, and there's a Tunisia break from London Gatwick for about £600. The same holiday, departing on the same day for 7 nights, was £180 per person cheaper from Birmingham. Now that £360 is surely worthy of driving up to Birmingham, paying for a hotel where you get your car parked and saving that money.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to remember that, that's for sure. And I certainly agree on the number of days because I was booking a cottage recently and it's the same price for 4 nights as it is for 7. So, well, it's just silly not to go for the full 7 nights. Right, Claire. So your travel hack, how do you spot a suitcase when it comes out of the aeroplane?
Personally, I used to always have a nice bright strap tied around my hold luggage, which I still do, to be fair. Though I do have a new suitcase, which is what you're alluding to, Mr. Haynes.
Oh, just slightly, yes. I mean, you couldn't not spot it, could you, really?
It's a special Barbie pink line that was on special offer. So I thought, not many people are going to have that as you go around the conveyor belt because it's always nice to be able to spot your suitcase quickly as it comes around so you can get out of the airport after your flight.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely agree. I've just got a red shoestring.
but I really do recommend, and a lot of people don't do that, is having, you can buy them so cheaply, but these really bright straps, and they give you that added layer of security as well, keeping your suitcase tied together because sometimes suitcases do burst.
Yes, or they go through them. Because I did find that the last time I went to the US that they broke my lock and they went through everything. So other hacks coming from you, Claire?
Well, interestingly enough, I mean, I agree with what James said. I think if you are flexible, that's definitely worth looking at. And often when you go on to online bookings, when you're doing flight search, they'll have that +3, +7 days. And most people will often say exact day only. And it's always worth clicking just to see what they've got because you never know. For me, because I quite often travel solo, I think, one, flexibility is great if you can be flexible, but often when I'm traveling solo, it's for business. But what I find is that there's still an issue with, if you have a specific hotel in mind, because you might be joining people there, they don't necessarily do single rooms within a package holiday booking or package travel booking. So I often have to book those elements separately, and I contact the hotel, I book a room for one person, costs exactly the same, and then I book the flight, and that package holiday company is missing out on some of my money as a result. So that's a frustration, but it's something that I get around. And then we were talking about silly hacks, weren't we? And we were joking earlier, but luckily it's never happened to me, but partly because I always do this. When I'm in a hotel and you obviously lock things away, like your passport and valuables and stuff in the hotel safe, people do often walk away and forget about that if they're in a rush to leave. So one of the things that they recommend you do is, if you have shoes that you travel with, and Will, you were saying you wouldn't put your shoes in the safe, but there might be something that you wear that you always travel and you're going to miss before you walk out that door, put that in the safe as well.
Okay. Will you remember your extra shoe, Will?
Well, it's on my foot, so I should be able to. And if not, it'll be in my brand new Barbie pink suitcase when I get one. So it'll be a bit of competition on the conveyor belt.
Welcome. What are some of your hacks?
Yeah, so a few things similar to James on the sort of departure airport. I mean, I'm really lucky where I am, sort of in the Midlands. We've got a lot of ports around us. And one of the things I do often look at is whether I fly in and fly out of different airports. Yes, you've got to consider how you get into the airport, and there may be costs. But if there's massive savings, does a taxi make sense on that? And it's worth exploring. There's plenty of sites to compare all these things to. Certainly for work, we always look at whether packaging the hotel with the flight at the time that we book it is worth exploring. So yeah, and personally, I love shopping around and trying all different tools to find what I can and break that deal. So I'm looking forward to hearing what Katie has to say. In terms of on the ground while traveling, a few things whenever I've sort of on work trips and tips people have told me. You can always use the USB port on the back of the TV to charge your phone if you forget your adapter.
And you're going to remember a USB port.
Look, one thing at a time, okay? You've got your USB, you just haven't got your plug. Don't pick holes in this. This is foolproof. If you've got a badly creased shirt, and this has always worked for me, touch wood, just lightly shower it the night before, leave it hanging in the shower, and the creases drop out.
I've got a better one for you.
Go on.
Wear a jumper.
Or wear a jumper, but if you're in a hot country and you've forgotten your best wool,
T-shirts.
Wow, tough crowd.
Yeah.
And then just increasingly, like air tagging your bag. If you've not got a Barbie pink suitcase, it's always, I quite like seeing where it's coming, where it is in the airport, and whether it's worth waiting or whether I've lost things for good. But yeah, it's just some of the things. I think you learn a few things on the road yourself. But as I say, I'm really interested to see what the expert has to say and where I can save some money. So no pressure from you.
No pressure.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, one of my things is a hotel hack is calling a hotel and asking for a deal, because actually they'll want to save on their commission rates, and they are likely to offer you it at the lower, for as long as you have a conversation with the right person, than they have on their websites or the online travel agents. But it's right. There are five of the top best holiday deal websites include Travelzoo, which appeared at number 4. Number 5 was Living Social. Number 3, Voyage Privé. Number 2, Luxury Escapes. And our guest for this week, Jack's Flight Club, was number 1. So congratulations, Katie.
Well, thank you. Yes. Sorry, James. Picked you to the post. Yeah, no, we're delighted. That was a total win. Really happy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, how long has Jack's Flight Club been going? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so 8 years now. We have over 2.5 million subscribers around the world. UK is our biggest market, and we send out emails whenever we find a great deal on a flight that could be with the airlines, could be with an online travel agency. We see it, we let our members know.
Now, do you always let your members know, or do you keep it a secret for yourselves?
We never keep it a secret, but to say that we can't multitask would be lying. We have been known to book simultaneously as also sending out emails, because some of those deals that we find are amazing.
I can imagine there must be a limit to them as well at the same time of what's available.
Thankfully, we've never found ourselves guilty of taking all those available tickets. We do try and get it out as fast as possible. to make sure everyone who is available can get it. So especially if it's one of these error fares you see, we had 99 euros from Paris to New York return last year. And one of our teammates in New York managed to get the other way around version, $109 from New York to Paris return, because he sent it out and then immediately booked it himself. And I think also last January, about 8 of the team booked tickets to Tanzania because they were under £200 return.
Do you have unlimited holiday or something?
No, but we can work from anywhere.
Okay. All right. So you regularly work from Tanzania then?
It would be a lie to say that some of the team were not working from Tanzania last year, yes.
Right. Okay. So let's dive into this then, Katie.
Yeah.
I know it's a world of travel professionals listening to us, but this is to pass on to their customers, but also to grab these opportunities for themselves. So where are the best deals? Where can we see them to?
Well, honestly, we always start with Google Flights. For a start, Google Flights is where our first port of call is for seeing what's available on any given day to any given destination from any airport, because obviously we are looking at flights. In general, we have seen lots of amazing trends towards countries that you maybe haven't seen before, like Greenland or Svalbard in Norway, Northern Iceland, or Central Asia. So if you're looking outside the box, looking for something a little bit different, those options are there. Otherwise, there's also, still plenty to places like the USA and Canada.
So these new destinations, Greenland, I were having a bit of a conversation before we started recording. It's a place that I've actually just been looking at. So how come some of these new destinations are sort of like appearing more frequently and you've got some good deals there?
Yeah, so actually it was just the end of last year, a new international airport opened in Greenland's capital, Nuuk, and that has opened up whole new routes from the USA. So United are starting flights from New York this year. It's also allowed for more flights from Reykjavik with Icelandair, and more airlines are flying out of Copenhagen. So you've got SAS as well as Air Copenhagen, and other airlines, some private airlines are running that route as well. So we're going to see more and more over this year, and then from other cities in Denmark as well. And I'm imagining that other European airlines will follow suit as time goes on.
And then did you mention that there's a certain budget airline heading to Iceland now?
Yes, EasyJet have been going to Reykjavik for a few years, but they're also heading up to Akureyri in the north of Iceland, which is really exciting. And not just from London, also from Manchester. So that's very exciting for those of us based further north in the world.
Interesting, because me and my friends were sort of making some plans for some trips, and there has been quite a bit of a shift in some of the routes between Manchester's ports and some of them. So you've got to keep checking to see if those routes still exist and some of these new exciting destinations coming up on them.
Absolutely.
So one of the other things is like the sales periods. We've had the January sales. There's the Black Friday sales not too long ago. Are there more frequent sales coming up now? Are there different types of sales to look out for?
Absolutely. So just honestly, the January sales never seem to end. They started before Christmas this year and are still going in waves. And it's every week, another few airlines seem to come up with a new sale. I'm hoping for our flight finding experts that they get a break sometime soon. But until that point, it's all go. Yeah, as you said, Black Friday was, as always, a big one, really much more concentrated on Black Friday week last year. However, unfortunately, not as sensational as past years. 2023, we saw some cracking fares. 2024, good deals. I personally got a flight to Vietnam with Air India for £450. Not the deal I expected to purchase. A deal I am very happy I did purchase, however. And weirdly, we saw Halloween sales before Black Friday, just a few weeks before Black Friday, and the airlines were still ready to pull out another sale.
Wow. They really are trying anything. But then at the same time, airlines are really adapting their product in so many different ways. It's no longer a flight on economy and then business class. There seems to be so many different categories, and it's something that you need to be conscious of when you're booking.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, yes, when you're booking, especially with airlines like Lufthansa, you go to book your flights and you're like given options like economy light, economy basic, economy plus, economy flex. And what is the difference between them? And why is one with more things included cheaper than the basic one sometimes, but not always? So you've really got to keep your eyes peeled when you are booking. And when you're looking at the budget airlines, we all know this, you pay for every little thing. You pay for carry-on bag, you pay for full-size carry-on bag, you pay for a 10-kilogram check-in bag, you pay more for a 20-kilogram check-in bag. And you just have to pay attention to every little thing that's included. And one thing that we see time and again is people, whether booking with Ryanair, for example, they will automatically, when presented the opportunity, pick to add a carry-on case and speedy boarding. Now, we all know that everyone does that, and speedy boarding is no longer particularly speedy because 2/3 of the plane is attempting to board speedily. Actually, if you're just there for the bag, ignore that bit, click through, and you get a bag cheaper than a bag in a speedy boarding bundle, but you don't get told that because you've already picked the speedy boarding bundle.
Yes, I think I noticed that on occasion. It was later that I added the extras, and it was certainly a lot cheaper.
I'm interested to know, is there any benefit to loyalty with airlines now and that side of things? BA have made their announcement recently, and how are you seeing that? Or does it matter? Does it not matter? Should you spread yourself amongst multiple airlines, or is there any value to it?
Yeah.
I'm interested to know.
I think there's a couple of different things to consider. If you're a business class traveler, you're regularly going long distances and you're likely to have been earning these tier points, you might feel like you're no longer getting what you used to. However, if you're just in it for the Avios, you're using your everyday spending, you're using your Amex or your Barclay card and getting those Avios, those are free points anyway, and the loyalty still matters. We don't really have that many options in the UK for airline loyalty points. It can't hurt to have the Avios, in my opinion. However, I think you'd be silly to not look elsewhere as well, because you can get some cracking deals with airlines based in Europe that you might not be able to use your Avios with, or simply looking at BA as the only way of spending your Avios these days would also be silly. So keep your eyes peeled around the board for my money.
No, I agree. And I've had a really good experience with Avios recently where I booked some flights on Oman Air through Qatar Airways.
Yes.
And it really paid dividend. We got an amazing deal, actually. So, yeah, I do recommend it. But on the whole, I'm questioning the value of loyalty points. So thanks for that.
Do you spend a lot of time trying to earn all those points?
I seem to spend a lot of time spending a lot of money, not deliberately, what my wife does, but not deliberately. And, to Katie's point rather, why not sort of earn the Avios? But it's whether they actually mean the thing. It's whether you can actually book your companion voucher, you can book your, find a flight to redeem. So I was just interested with all the news at the moment, just questioning the value of loyalty. But that's really handy. Have it, but also shop around. So
now, looking at where you can potentially also get the best deals, there's some research done on booking.com and found that, there is a discrepancy in pricing between the mobile site and the desktop site. Is this something that we're seeing across a lot of different travel websites?
Certainly, I personally use booking.com a lot for my own travel, and I will always use the mobile version when I'm booking my hotel. But we don't tend to see this when we're looking at flight deals. Occasionally, you'll see airlines running sales in their app only, but it's very rare. Generally speaking, if there is an offer, it will be available across the board. We might see, online travel agencies having slightly different trends, but generally speaking, they come with their own raft of risks. So airlines, not so much a problem there.
Now, one of the other things is really, I guess, IP addresses, but also potentially the web URL of the particular website that you're working with that you might select. You were telling us, I think, about Skyscanner.
Yeah. One of the things we've noticed fairly often, especially when we're looking at countries in Europe that are neighboring countries, for example, that it might be cheaper to book on, say, the French version of Skyscanner than on the German version, or similar, Danish versus Swedish. And if you're not fussy about where the money is being taken out, then it's fine. However, you are not covered by the same rules as if you had booked through an online travel agency based in the UK, for example. So if you're booking on an Irish online travel agency, sure, it's not that far away. It's similar. You can understand all the terms and conditions, but it's not adhering to the UK laws. So you're in a bit of a sticky situation if something goes wrong, as it can do with online travel agencies.
I was going to say, everyone's a little bit more cautious nowadays, just in case there's another epidemic, pandemic, whatever you might want to call it. And will you lose all that money? And I guess it depends how much you're putting down in the first place. Now, another area, as we sort of round off, coming down in around to business travel and company travel, something you've been tasked with recently is bringing the entire company together.
Yeah, our first ever in-person full company meetup, because we are a fully remote company. So this is going to be a fantastic opportunity. But getting people from all over the world to Italy in March is indeed a task. As you can imagine, when you have people based in the UK, in the US, in South Africa, in the Middle East, we have people everywhere. And we would love for them all to make it, but the logistics can get hairy.
I can imagine. And is there any tips or advice that you've gained as based on your experience?
Yeah, I think it does come a little bit down to flexibility here. So both on the company side and on the employee. The company, it helps when people are coming from further afield. If the company are willing to, cover a night in a hotel, if it helps people get in at a comfortable time of day, because some of our colleagues traveling from South Africa and from the States, arriving at crack of dawn and then expected to suddenly socialize with their colleagues, that's a lot to ask. So if you can cover accommodation for an extra night to, accommodate them and allow them to have a more pleasant journey, that seems to be quite a popular choice among our people. Other things would be not just automatically looking at certain airlines. Obviously, for example, two of my colleagues in Cape Town, not necessarily taking the same route to get there just because of their arrangements for the way back. They want to make the most of their trip. One of them wants to go to Amsterdam. One of them wants to go down to Naples. So why would I put them on the same airline just for convenience? No, it doesn't make sense. Get them a deal that suits them and keeps the budget reasonable.
So, guys, moving over to this whole idea of corporate and business travel. James, you do quite a bit. I mean, with you here at Travel Zoo, do you have like a corporate travel policy? How do you manage the budgets effectively?
We do, yeah. There's a corporate policy which provides the team stipends to spend on hotels and locations and transport. But I think probably one of the most sensible approaches is sometimes it's better to pay a little bit more to get you into a hotel. That location is going to pay dividends for that member of staff or myself, particularly when a lot of the travel is around conferences. So there's always a conference hotel. It's always going to be a premium because everyone wants to be in that conference hotel or the hotel next door. And then there's the hotels that are 30 minutes away, which are going to be maybe saving 20, 30 euros. If we're trying to be sensible here, what's that worth? Is it more rewarding for that member of staff to be located far closer so they can get more downtime, be at location quicker, be more prompt, have more energy and all that? So sometimes you just have to take a bit more of a holistic approach and say, what's better for the individual? And it's not always about saving 20 euros on a hotel, especially when you think that person sometimes has to travel late at night. Is it worth the risk? No.
Thank you. Will, how do you manage your travels within your business?
Yeah, so we're quite small. We don't have a policy per se. We judge each case on its merits. To James's point, it's about, return on the investment. If I've got someone going to a conference, they're presenting, if they're, client facing and going off to meet people, it's reasonable to put them firstly in a decent place, well located for them, close to the venue, because the cost can add up on that basis. And things like different classes of travel, it really depends how long they're going away for. If they're going longer haul for a very short space of time, I've got to consider, time changes, the effect of flying, and you want them at their best. You also want to consider their mental health. You've got to think about the person. Now, you should always, but certainly now there is a consideration. And for me, that's about how can they best perform and giving them the best circumstances to represent the company. So we don't have a hard and fast policy. As I say, we judge it on its merits, but we are more considerate and of circumstances now and what we can do.
Excellent. Now, Claire, you actually manage and advise people on their travel policies and what they're going to do to manage their budgets. What's some of the advice that you generally typically give to I guess, keeping control and management over that?
Well, actually, I think Will's covered quite a lot of that off. I think what I've seen, and it has changed over the last 10, 15 years, is particularly around well-being and making sure that your staff actually are being looked after when they travel. Time of day, particularly, say, for instance, if you have a woman traveling on her own, when do you want them arriving? Do you want them arriving at 3 a.m. in a district downtown or somewhere on their own in a hotel and all that sort of stuff? So you have to think about all of those things. I think there is also, it pertains a bit to the well-being about the length of the flight as well. I think it's quite, if you're just going to, I say Paris or say, a short haul destination, then I think everyone would be quite fine with sitting in an economy seat for that distance. But actually, if you're going longer, and again, depending on how long you're going for, you do need to think about, again, their well-being and how rested they're going to be in the time as well. And I think, for those older members of us, we are probably a bit more used to giving up our free time to go travel, to do business travel for work. But actually, a lot of the younger generation go, well, actually, why should I be traveling in my own time outside of work? And that can have a knock-on effect on the budgets as well. So there's not one size fits all anymore. I think it has to be, you have to put a number of considerations in. And I think it's more about writing policies that give a basic in terms of what your expectations are of the business, but allow you to look at each individual case on its own merit as well. So
Excellent.
It has changed.
There we go. Okay. So it might be more expensive to travel for business in that case.
Well, yeah, but then I think there's an argument saying, if they are traveling outside in their own time, they're going to want time back, and that's an additional cost on the business. You're giving them the time back. And there's all these, costs that we often don't think about that we maybe took for granted initially, pertaining to what James was saying about, 20 euros saving on a hotel, but you spend 30 euros a day on taxis to and from. Where's the business sense in that?
I would add one other thing, which is, we're an industry now that has been through the reduction in travel, through the changes in the environment. And as travel's boomed, there's been a certain increase in workation, where a lot of people have wanted to include some form of break or stay with their travel. When we've had staff go out for an event in New York, a large majority of them were like, I'm going to fly out a couple of days earlier. And remember, that means they're not paying for the flight element of their holiday. So that's a big saving if they're then going out, because they're using the company to pay for the flights and they're just paying for accommodation. And that I've seen a marked increase. And I encourage it. Good on you. If you want to take a couple of days holiday and stay longer in New York and fly back on the Monday, fine, go for it.
Excellent. Good. That's also hopefully inspires people to work hard and climb the career ladder, eh? And be an opening of an envelope, eh, James?
Every week.
Someone's got to do it. Okay.
Right, so that has been your episode on travel hacks. Thanks ever so much for listening to Travel Market Life, and look out for our next trends episode, where we're going to be looking deeper at finances. Ooh. I'm your host, Ryan Haynes. Thanks for listening.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music Sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.